Today, I bring you a story titled Never Give Up on Your Dreams. I hope the story brings you a relaxing and comfortable time. Come on, let's begin.
I've always believed that the most dangerous thing you can do in life is give up on your dreams. It sounds cliché, I know, but trust me, this belief has kept me going in moments when everything seemed lost. My name is Evan Wells, and I was born in a small town where dreams were often treated like luxuries. Most people didn't have the time or the courage to chase them. But I was different. When I was 10, I discovered my passion for music. My mom worked 2 jobs to support us, but she still bought me a second-hand guitar from a garage sale. It was old, scratched, and missing a string, but to me, it was a treasure. Every night, I would sit by the window, strumming, humming songs I made up, pretending I was performing on the biggest stage in the world. That's how the dream began. Years passed, but my dream stayed constant. I wrote songs in the margins of my school notebooks. I played at local cafes, parks, anywhere someone would let me. Still, success was nowhere in sight. At 18, I moved to the city, chasing record labels, sending demos, performing at clubs for free. But all I ever heard was, "You're not what we're looking for." Rejection hurt, but I refused to stop. The city was louder than I thought, and success was quieter than I'd hoped. I slept in a rented room with a broken fan, walls thin enough to hear strangers argue every night. Still, I held on to my dream, even as friends back home got real jobs, started families, and watched their lives move forward while mine stayed still. One day, I got a small gig at an underground bar. I was excited not because I would get paid, but because someone had finally said yes. The bar was dim, soaked in cigarette smoke and the dreams of 100 failed artists. I climbed onto a tiny stage, guitar in hand, heart pounding. I sang my heart out that night. Nobody clapped. Nobody cared. But there was one man sitting in the back. He didn't cheer. He didn't smile. He only listened, really listened in a way that made me feel like my music mattered. After the show, he approached me. "You wrote that last song?" he asked, lighting a cigarette. "Yes," I said, trying to sound confident. "It's raw. It's honest. Don't stop." That's all he said. He walked away, leaving me with more questions than answers. But his words stuck with me. That night, I went back to my room and cried. Not because I was sad. But because someone had finally seen me. Weeks passed. I kept performing, writing, chasing opportunities like a dog chasing cars. Every open mic, every dim lounge, every empty cafe, if they let me play, I played. But dreams don't pay the rent. One afternoon, I came home to a notice taped to my door, "Final warning, rent overdue." My hands trembled as I read it. I had 3 days to pay or pack. That night, I called my mother. "Evan, honey, come home," she said. "We can figure something out here." But I couldn't go back. Not yet. Not without trying everything. That same night, I found a gig online, a contest hosted by a small music label. The winner would get a record deal and $10,000. It felt like a message from the universe. I practiced every night until my fingers bled. On the day of the contest, I walked into the venue, a bright room, polished floor, people dressed like they belonged in music videos. I felt small. Out of place. But I forced myself forward. When my turn came, I stepped up, guitar in hand. I closed my eyes and began to play my most personal song, one I'd written after my father left us when I was 15. Halfway through, I noticed something. Silence. Everyone was listening. When I finished, the room didn't erupt into applause, but what I heard was better. A soft clap. Then another. And another. One of the judges, a woman with silver hair and sharp eyes, stood up and walked toward me. "Evan," she said, reading from my submission. "You have something rare. Something real. For a moment, I felt the weight lifting. My dream was finally breaking through. Then she continued. You're good. But you're not ready. The applause stopped. Just like that, my heart fell to the floor. But, she added, if you can hold on to that fire and sharpen your craft, come back in 6 months. I'd like to hear you again. 6 months. To someone barely holding on, it felt like forever. I left the venue that night with no deal, no check, and no idea how to pay rent. But I also left with something more important. Hope. Hope is fragile. And mine shattered the next day. When I got home from the contest, I found my things scattered in the hallway. A notice taped to the door read, "Lockout, eviction executed." I was officially homeless. Everything I owned fit into a backpack and a torn suitcase. The guitar was all I had left that felt like me. That night, I found myself sitting on a park bench. The cold crept into my bones, but the fear was worse. Is this it? I whispered to the empty park. Is this where the dream dies? But something deep inside answered, quietly, stubbornly. No. Not yet. I remembered the man's words from the bar. Don't stop. I remembered the judge's voice. You have something rare. I remembered every note I'd ever played, every word I'd ever written. Music was more than a dream. It was who I was. So I got up and walked. Lugging my suitcase behind me, I made my way to an all-night cafe with a broken neon sign that read, "Open 24 hours." I walked in, bought the cheapest coffee on the menu, and sat in the corner. For the next few nights, it became my shelter. Every day, I wandered the city, searching for gigs, handing out demos, sleeping wherever I could. On a good night, I made enough from street performances to buy food. On a bad one, I went hungry. But I kept writing. One night, under a flickering street lamp, I wrote a new song. It was raw. It was broken. But it was honest. I called it, "Cover Me in Stars." That song changed everything. A week later, I was playing it outside a subway station when a young woman stopped in front of me. She didn't just listen, she cried. She dropped a $20 bill in my case and said softly, "I needed that tonight. Don't ever stop." It was the same message I'd heard before, but this time, it hit different. This time, it saved me. I wasn't earning much. I had no home. No certainty. But I had proof. My music mattered. And that meant I couldn't give up. Not now. Not ever. Dreams are strange. Sometimes they shake you awake. Sometimes they let you sleep, just long enough to gather strength. I was still living day by day, performing on street corners, hoping for enough spare change to survive. But then, one morning, while I was sitting outside a cafe, watching the city wake up, my phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated before answering. "Hello. Evan Wells?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes." I replied nervously. "This is Maria Reed from Silver Crescent Records. We heard your song, 'Cover Me in Stars,' through a listener who was quite moved. We'd like to meet you." My heart stopped. I blinked twice. "Meet me?" I repeated. "Yes. Tomorrow morning at 10. Bring your guitar." The line went dead before I could ask how they found me. For a full minute, I just sat there, staring at my phone, trying not to cry in public. This was it. This was the moment every sleepless night, every empty stomach, every rejection had been leading to. But disillusioned as I was also scared. What if I failed, again? What if I wasn't enough? The next morning, I walked into the sleek, glass-fronted building of Silver Crescent Records. My clothes were worn. My shoes had holes. But I clutched my guitar like armor. Maria Reed was waiting in a room with wide windows and a piano in the corner. "Evan," she said with a warm smile. "I'm glad you came." She gestured for me to sit. "What you wrote, what you lived, it's authentic. And people crave that now more than ever." I didn't know what to say. "So here's what I'm proposing," she continued. "We sign you for an EP. 4 songs. You keep your voice, your style. We'll help with production, promotion, distribution. You'll get a small advance to get your feet back on the ground." I swallowed hard. "You're offering me a record deal?" "Yes," she said simply. "But only if you're ready." Ready. I was homeless. I was exhausted. I was scared. But I had never been more ready in my life. "I'm ready." Maria smiled. "Good. Because we believe in you, Evan." That was the moment. The moment it all changed. The moment the dream stopped being just a dream. Recording an album isn't just about music, it's about facing the past. At Silver Crescent Studios, I worked with a producer named Jason. He was kind, but strict. Every time I missed a note, he made me do the whole verse again. "Don't just sing it," he'd say. "Feel it. Make them believe it." Some days, I felt unstoppable. Other days, I felt like I was drowning in insecurity. The studio walls echoed with voices in my head. "You're homeless. You're a failure. You don't belong here." But then I'd pick up the guitar, close my eyes and remember. Remember the nights in the park. Remember the girl who cried. Remember my dream. Every lyric I wrote, every chord I strummed, carried the weight of my scars, and somehow, it made the music real. The EP was titled "Stars Are Made of Scars." When it was finished, I sat in the studio alone and listened to the final mix. My eyes filled with tears. Not because it was perfect, but because it was true. The release was scheduled for the end of winter. Maria walked into the room with a smile and a stack of posters. "We're planning a small launch tour," she said. "Mostly local venues, but it'll get your name out there." Tour. The word felt like magic. Like a dream that had finally grown legs. The first show was at a cozy nightclub. When I stepped on stage, the lights were blinding, but the applause shook me to my core. People showed up. They knew the songs. They sang along. Just months ago, I was sleeping on a park bench. Now, I was singing to a room full of strangers who believed in me, maybe more than I believed in myself. After the show, a little boy with big eyes handed me a piece of paper. It was a drawing, a stick figure holding a guitar, surrounded by stars. "My mom said you were homeless," he whispered. "But now you're on stage." I smiled and crouched down. "That's right. And you know what? You can do anything too, as long as you don't stop dreaming." He nodded, and in that moment, I knew, it wasn't just about me anymore. My scars had become someone else's strength. I wasn't just living my dream, I was helping others find theirs. Thank you for watching.